I'm a big fan of small guns. As someone who lawfully conceal carries a pistol every day, these are the guns I tend to focus on. It could be really small ones like the LCP Max or maybe the J frame like this 442. It could be slightly bigger guns like the Glock 48 and 43X. But I've always got to focus on smaller pistols. Specifically, over the last couple of years here, I've been testing out pocket guns, both of which these fall into categories for. Obviously, this is an appendix holster, but these are both guns that you can reasonably carry in a pocket. There's been one pocket gun that I really wanted to test, though, and I just haven't been able to find. Well, I finally got it. It's the KelTec P32. In this video, I'm just planning on kind of doing a first look at the P32. Full disclosure, I haven't been able to shoot this gun yet just due to time and scheduling, but I wanted to kind of give an overview on it as I do think it's a slept-on pistol. This is a gun from KelTec. KelTec's quality is not the best or particularly good, to be completely honest here, and I've generally had negative experience with their products. However, the P32 is kind of an exception to the rule. This is their oldest gun. Now, of course, George Kellgren has made firearms prior to this, but as the company KelTec, this is their oldest firearm, and it's a 7+1 capacity 32 ACP pocket pistol. This is a very strange gun because it uses a tilting barrel lock breech action, which takes the already very soft shooting 32 and makes it even softer. We have incredibly tiny sights because this is meant to be a small carry pistol, and a kind of pseudo double action only trigger press, where if I pull it, I have a dead trigger afterwards. It doesn't actually work like a traditional double action only where you can just keep pulling the trigger. We have to cycle the pistol for it to work. Here we actually have a funny thing I've run into just doing some work on the gun here. Our ejector also acts as a slide lock, but there is no slide release on this pistol. You're meant to insert a new magazine and just, slingshot it and shoot. The issue is that it's intermittent. This gun might need some new springs because it is a used pistol, but it being used is why I found it. When these guns are new, they're really, really hard to track down, and that's why it's taken me so long to get this. What I like with this pistol, because I have shot them over the years, they're very soft shooting. The trigger, while strange, long, and heavy, is actually pretty good for this kind of gun. It's as some people will call it, like the LEM, it's a thinking trigger. It allows you to keep the sights on target as you're pressing the trigger pretty well. Would this gun be better with a better trigger? Sure. But this isn't the worst possible thing that could be on here. We could have like a SIG DAK on here or something like that. The gun also weighs nothing. With 8 rounds of 32, so 7 in the mag, 1 in the chamber, I weighed this gun at 10.3 ounces. That is really, really light. This is a gun that you could throw into your gym shorts and they wouldn't pull them down. I got it because I do like these small NPE guns, and this is one that I've wanted to test for a long, long time. Now, it is a used gun, so I do have to do some maintenance on it. I think some of the springs certainly need some replacing, and I'll know more when I get to shoot it later this week. But I want to talk about what the gun came with because it came with some oddball things. So I have the gun here, and I paid $220 for the gun. On the new market, these guns tend to run between $250 to $350. With KelTec pistols, when they're in demand, the prices always go way above MSRP until there's a much larger supply out there. But the P32 is their oldest gun, and the supply doesn't seem to really be getting all that much bigger from year to year. So I paid $220 for this used gun, which came with the gun. I got all of the factory accoutrement here, so a box, a little fabric carrying case, and a full color manual, which is honestly kind of impressive. I got 2 fairly crappy holsters, a Phobos paddle one, and then something that I think someone pulled a clip off of, but they're probably using it as like a pocket holster or a bag holster. The Phobos is pure junk. This is going to go into my garbage bin when I'm done filming here. But this one I'm actually going to repurpose into a holster that lives in a bag. I can attach some 550 cord to the bolstering that we have here, and basically what I can do is have this tethered to the bag. If I need the gun, you grab the gun, pull it out, holster stays behind. So fairly simple there. This holster gets to stay in front of the camera here. And then the gun came with 3 spare magazines. I have 2 aftermarket 7-round ones. I don't know who made them. They're not marked anywhere. I'll do some research on them, but I don't know who made them. And then I have this oddball. Mekgar is the OEM for these mags for KelTec. You actually can see the Mekgar logo on the mags in the manual. This is an extended magazine. Factory one is 7. This one can fit 10, but with 10 rounds in there, you can't actually seat the magazine in the gun. So it's effectively a 9-round mag. But it lets us have the long P32, which is really quite goofy. So for the money, I'm fairly happy with the bundle that I got here, but just the fact that I actually have a P32 to test is something that I'm fairly excited for. Now, the 32 cartridge is fairly anemic if we were to compare it to something like a 380 or a 38 special or a 9mm, but it's more potent than 22 long rifle or 22 mag or 25. There are two fairly distinct downsides, though, and that's that for self-defense ammo, there really isn't any good 32 on the market. I had tried out the Spear Gold Dot a number of years ago, which is like a 60 grain hollow point. The penetration on that projectile is terrible. It's like if you had a decent knife, you're penetrating into a bad guy more than you would be with hollow point 32. So you're kind of stuck using ball. But then that leads into the issue of the cost of 32. Despite this being a fairly small cartridge, these are like 73 grain bullets, we have a semi-rimmed cartridge, which you can kind of see here. The rim's wider than the case is. This means that 32 is fairly proprietary for how they make it. 32 costs me more than what I pay for 45 ACP hollow points. This costs about as much as I paid for my last lot of HSTs for 230 grain hardball 45, which is kind of painful. But it is what it is, right? I actually sold my old Walther PP because the 32 prices were too crazy, but here I am again. The prices did come down from when I used to own that gun, but, you know. But 32, it's just a soft shooting cartridge. In a gun like this, it makes the perfect sense. Both my editor and I, we're big fans of 32. He's written a number of articles praising the caliber. And it isn't without merit. I do think the caliber is pretty good. It's just that, again, the availability, the cost, and then the lack of good hollow points for it. I'd love to see like a flat-nosed Federal punch load in this, but there just aren't that many guns in 32 on the market these days, and most of the ones that come out are just reissues of old guns, like all the Beretta 80X and the Tomcats, which is the Tomcat's a pile of garbage, but that's a topic for a different video. But yeah, the KelTec P32, a gun chambered in one of my favorite cartridges, and in fact, if you go to my most popular videos here on the channel, 32 ACP is the gun I'm shooting in my most popular video, so there's that. But yeah, the P32, a gun that I'm really looking forward to testing, and I hope it works, and if it doesn't, I'll be monkeying with it to get it working, but I just really wanted to test one of these for a long time. And we'll be back with actual shooting footage of this later in the week here. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about the KelTec P32. Thank you very much for watching.